Welcome to the Black Delegates podcast. Today's date is July the 21st, 2018. We're on episode 24. 24, a better number than 23. 5 rings, count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how y'all been? It's myself and Ishmael today. We will be your hosts. There is no Paul and no G. Shout out to Paul.
Both absent.
Shout out to G, wherever he may be. Feel like I ain't talked to G in a long time. He pops in every now and then, but it's just not the same. All right, so let's see. Let's start with Week of Blackness. Ishmael, how was your week?
My week was pretty good, man. Pretty good. I always forget to do the blackness scale and didn't think of anything beforehand, but I think it was reasonably black. Although one thing that happened this week that kind of perturbed me is I had my blackness questioned a little bit.
Uh-oh.
And it's not the first time that it's happened with this individual who shall remain nameless. But individual kind of insinuated because of where I live, which is South, and we've kind of talked about it, is more of a predominantly white neighborhood, that somehow I was less black than others. And so I had to kind of pull a check move on that, to say, listen, man, I grew up in Berkeley, which is a very black neighborhood in St. Louis, moved out to Normandy area, so I'm just rehashing the places where I live, the fact that I work at a black newspaper, that I volunteer at a black boys book club.
That you had dreads before?
Right.
That you once had a box?
I had a texturizer. That's even more than anything. I should have just broke out the photo album. You're right.
Right.
And so, I was a little offended that I had to defend my blackness. And again, this was a black person that was saying it in jest. But again, this is something that has been said before. So I kind of had to defend my blackness there for a little bit. But otherwise, I'm a big boxing fan. And actually, I didn't watch this fight, but saw that Manny Pacquiao knocked out Lucas Matisse.
Oh, okay.
His first knockout for Pacquiao since 2009, which is crazy because back in the day, Pacquiao was just knocking out everybody.
When was the last time that dude fought?
He's fought. He fights. He still fights regularly. I mean, he fought.
Okay.
He got robbed against a guy named Jeff Horn. Maybe, I don't know. It might have been a year and a half ago. And so he hadn't fought since then. So it was a bit of a layoff. But he's still been fighting. I mean, he's almost 40 now. Maybe he's 40. I think he's 39. But got his knockout against Lucas Matisse. So I was happy to see that. And it put me in a mind frame about something. I go hoop often. Went hoop this morning. And it was interesting because initially, my jumper was just off. I've been having wrist issues for a while, probably for 9 months. Haven't got looked at yet, being black.
It's called repetitive motion because you've been shooting a lot of shots for your entire life. You've been gunning. It's time to hang them up, man.
No. Eventually, I'm going to go to the doctor. I just been being black.
50 shots per game for a lifetime.
Buckets, man. Get these buckets. So the jumper was off early in the day. And then as I got later, I'm like, let me just start going to the hole. And, I'm not one, we done hoop together. I'm not one to pull off a lot of dribble moves, but just as the longer we played, I started doing a little, cross through the legs, behind the back, doing stuff, getting to the bucket, making nice shots. And there was one particular play where I did that, guys guard me. And I went through the legs, dribbled behind the back, and I got a screen from a little youngster. And so I'm going to the hole and it's just wide open. And I'm thinking somebody's going to come up to help. Nobody came up to help. And I went up and I laid it up. And I'm just thinking, man, like after the fact, and this happens occasionally, or you just get an easy layup, and I'm like, man, I should have dunked that. And I still can dunk. I'm getting up there in age. I still can dunk. I can't dunk consistently.
But
so my mind frame isn't even set to that at all. Like, I'm never thinking, oh, let me just go dunk on this. But seeing Manny Pacquiao, who, is actually around the same age as me, go and get that knockout, that's just a confirmation for me that I need to get my mindset on. I need to dunk on somebody, which probably would be the first time since about 2009, maybe longer than that. So that's kind of my goal, because I got that layup so easy, and I'm just like, man, if I would have dunked that, it would have been a chance. Or there's times I go up for a layup and somebody would jump with me and I just lay it up over them, and I'm like, ooh, if I would have dunked that. So I'm trying to get my mindset back in that avenue, because I need to catch a couple more bodies before it's all said and done. I don't got too much longer in these knees probably for dunking, so need to catch a couple bodies. So that was my week, man. What about yourself?
I hate to reference this dude, but your mind is telling you. Your mind is telling you to do it, but your body should be telling you no. Don't try to dunk on nobody, man. Just let it go. You got to let it go.
No,
if you got a wide open one, man, go ahead and maybe try, but it's gonna come a time you're just gonna get hung, or you're gonna miss it badly. So just don't bother, man. 2 points is 2 points.
Hey, that's part of the game. Getting hung.
ain't no cameras.
Saw a young fella get hung last week, and he wasn't too miffed about it. He's probably 28, something like that, but he went up for a dunk and just hung himself, and he laughed about it. So I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about popping my Achilles or, snapping an ACL or something like that, as opposed to just the embarrassment of getting hung. But at this point, like I said, because that hasn't even been in my mind, I know that when it happens, that everybody's just going to go crazy. So you need that little adrenaline rush where people just like, oh, okay.
Hey, whatever you have to do, whatever floats your boat. But just remember this conversation. Just let it go.
Never.
So my week was a lot of work this week, to be honest. It flew by. Every time I looked up, it was lunchtime, and every time I looked up again, it was 5:00. So I had lots of work to do. This is my weekend to go out to the flea market, so that was cool. Went out with the wife this morning out to Belleville, hit the flea market for a few hours. That's really our date time at this point, because we'll never get nobody to keep the kids for too long, so we can get Kayla to do it on Saturdays every once a month, third weekend or whatever. But during the week, man, I had lots of introspective conversations with my office mate. We talked about a lot of different things, and just thinking about times in my life where, being black made me stand out in different situations, and so on and so forth. And I had a phone call come in at work, which was interesting. And, the dude that I had to talk to was very hood. And so he was so hood that I felt like, man, I need to use more slang to talk to this dude. But at the same time, I'm like, but these white people at work are not going to understand it if I'm talking to him like that, because they don't know who I'm talking to. And the dude also, he was kind of pressing me, like he was trying to make me be more black on this phone call.
Right. He might have been questioning your blackness as well.
I felt that way. Indirectly. He was definitely challenging me. He was challenging me.
Gotcha.
He was like, so you gonna help me out? Is that what you gonna do? You here to help me? And normally I'd have been like, yeah, man, I got your back. I got you. But I couldn't say that. So I was like, yes, I am here to help you. How can I assist? I turned into Cliff Paul, during the conversation, and dude kind of chuckled, and he just like, whatever, man. Like, okay, all right. And I was like, yeah, man, for real. I was like, and that's what I said that, and I was like, oh, he got me. So it's just like, I just said, yeah, man, for real. And old girl behind me is probably, that's minor, but old girl's probably like, ooh, what is he doing? This is not professional. But yeah, man, I just being in that situation where a dude is pressing you, and I felt like my blackness was being questioned, and it was one of them phone calls. I was like, man, I should have made this after 5, so everybody would be gone, and I could just talk to the dude, the way I need to talk to him, because he was also acting like he was acting like he didn't understand what I was saying, which I hate that. Like, don't do that, because I don't think you would do that to a white person to act like you don't understand what they're saying. In that setting, because I'm at work and I got to talk like that. So get with the program. Have you had that happen before?
Not that I can recall. The last 3 places where I've been employed have been pretty black places. So there's not been the need to really code switch that much now. I mean, there's always a certain level that you're going to do at a professional establishment. But for the most part, I really haven't felt that in a long, long time where I needed to do that. So I usually, I can speak slang freely, or I can say, what's good or what's happening or whatever. So, yeah, I don't have that experience.
Yeah. I mean, the most I can say is, hey, what's up, when I'm talking to him. But after that, I got to get back to being serious. I don't want to scare the white folks at work.
Which you almost did with the twist.
Oh, yeah. It has been Nappy Hair Chronicles for the past week. Still dealing with that. But it's all right. Nobody asked me. I think I might have got asked maybe 2 times this week about my hair. So I made it. That's pretty much it. So
I got one other thing to add too.
Yeah.
For the Week in Blackness, I was happy to be a part of. There was like a protest that happened here in St. Louis, and this was actually about the ICE, the deportation, the immigrant office. So there was a protest that happened with them, and so at the job, I had to coordinate the video for these protests because we had reporters out there in different avenues and they were recording, doing live streams. So I got to do that and just kind of make sure the YouTube live feed was working, make sure the Facebook live feed was working, push those out on all our social media avenues. So it took me back to like when the Ferguson protest happens, some of that I was actually out there recording and filming myself. But some of that I also was just quarterbacking the live streams and all the stories and stuff that came in. So just seeing those people go into the ICE office and protest and go down the street and, protest the deportation of the brown folks in this country, that was something that I enjoy doing, and I'm glad to see that happening around the country. So that's it.
That's pretty black. Man, hopefully we can get some change going with that, man. But you know how the climate is right now. I don't know how serious they are about changing anything. I mean, things are changing slowly, but once it gets out of the news, it'll probably just go back to how it was before.
Pretty much.
So, let's get into the news. So, I do want to. We have one tragic story here in Missouri, down in Branson. So we want to send our thoughts and prayers to the victims of the boat accident that happened down there. We had a boat sink at one of the lakes, what they call a duck boat, which is one of those boats where it's like a truck and a boat combined together, so they can go on land and on water. And they had a storm front come in pretty quickly down there, I guess, and it kind of overflowed the boat and capsized it. And I was reading through the story of that, and 17 people died, but they were saying that 9 members of one particular family died. I believe they said they had they were going down there just for a family trip or whatever. And
right.
Herself, she said that the lady that survived was the mother. She said that she lost all of her children, and only her and her nephew survived. Man, I just couldn't believe that. Like that's such a crazy story in and of itself, and then that your entire family dies like that, man. I don't even know how you come back from that.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. And the lady had a 1-year-old child. There was a 1-year-old that passed, a 2-year-old. Her husband passed. There were several other kids as well, and other relatives. So yeah, that's tough when you lose 9 of your family members all at once. So definitely prayers go out to them. And I think they are gonna sue that company, because from what I heard, the person who was operating the duck boat told him in the beginning, like, hey, your life vests are above, but you don't have to worry about putting them on because you won't need them. So a lot of them did not put on life vests because I guess the captain of the ship, if you want to call it, told them, they didn't need it and it wasn't necessary. So, and not that any amount of money is going to soothe the pain of losing 9 relatives, but, hopefully they're able to get some type of, I don't know, just something.
Restitution or something, yeah.
Yeah, restitution.
Man, I don't know, I rode on a boat on the Mississippi River, and they had life jackets. They told us where they were. But no, we didn't ride around with them on. That was not the case. Nobody told us to. I didn't think that it was a thing that you had to ride around with them. So is that like standard practice for those? Have you ever been on one of those?
I've been on things like that. I don't think I've been on the duck boat, and I don't know. Honestly, it's been so long that I've been on one of those smaller boats or things like that. I don't remember if I had a life jacket on or not. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. That still may not have saved them. Who knows? The lady was recounting her story on what happened and how she sunk to the bottom and got back to the top, and it was just heartbreaking. But yeah, who knows? At the end of the day, she lost 9 family members, and like you said, 17 people overall passed away in that. So that's just a tragic story. So be safe out there on these waters, folks.
Yeah. My sister had told me that she had actually been on some duck boats with her and her husband and her kids. Like multiple times, she sent me the picture, like they had the little duck things in their mouth, because it was a duck boat. And yeah, that's crazy. She was just like, yeah, I've been on one of them. And at that time, like none of them could swim. But, it's just something that people do. But yeah, sorry to hear that though.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's move into our first segment. So we have white collar crimes. And as usual, we don't have to worry about finding any material for this section.
Nope.
So let's start it off. Here we go. 911, what's your emergency? I'm going to play it every time.
Finally. Less of a delay, though. Less of a delay, so you get a little better.
But I'm just good at talking through it. That's all. Because I still had to pull that mug up. All right, so this first one. This title, man. Hot dogs and happy endings. Now, you would think Paul snuck in and put this title up, but he did not. This is Ishmael's title, for God's sakes. Hot dogs and happy endings.
Paul isn't with us today, so we had to get him here in spirit. So I feel like that's a title that Paul would love, and I'm sure he'll get a chuckle when he listens to it back.
Yeah. Young man, 13 years old, out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Jaquan.
Gotta say his name.
Yep, got to say his name because it's black. He was selling hot dogs outside of his home, and he had been doing it since 2016. So apparently somebody reported him, though, to the police, and he was at risk of having his business shut down. And apparently, we don't know how it happened. They didn't say who did it, but it was some kind of hater who thought that he didn't have the proper permits and he didn't have the proper health inspection and blah blah blah. I guess anytime you look out and you see a young man shining, we got to call the police, right?
Right.
And so go ahead and kind of recap what happened after that, because that's kind of where my knowledge of it stops.
Yeah, so young Jaquan, the police came, or they were called about him not having a permit. Permit Patty probably was on vacation, drove by and saw him. She did her thing, hit that speed dial, had 911 on speed dial, And so this was in Minneapolis. So when the Minneapolis Health Department called, they were like, you know what? We're not going to shut this kid down. They said, this kid's out here. He's not doing anything wrong. And I really wish that this would happen more often. And so they asked Jaquan, they said, hey, do you really want this business? Do you want to have your own business? Because he said that he started the stand because he wanted to raise money for like school clothes. So they said, well, are you just doing this to get a little side money, or do you really want to be a business owner? And they said he was really excited. He said, yes, I want to be a business owner. And so they said, well, you know what? We're going to help you get the proper permit. Instead of just shutting you down and, you know, stop stepping on your dreams, we're going to help you get legit. So they kind of linked him up with a nonprofit group that was in the area. That the whole point of this group was to help people with businesses and underrepresented people, as they say, or underprivileged people to start businesses. So they worked with him. They got him a nice little stand. They worked with him on getting like a hand washing station, and got him a meat thermometer so he can make sure the temperature is whatever degrees. And so they got him legit, and they got him a permit. And so now his business is legit. So whoever the hater was, whoever the person that called the police on this young black man selling hot dogs on the sidewalk, you know, now they got to be really pissed off because he's legitimate. And he's talking about, you know, getting a full-size cart at some point. You know, who knows if he'll have a food truck. And the boy box is just crispy. He got the kid box. That mug is just like 2 feet high. So, you know, shout out to him. It's like he got the chef hat on without the chef hat. So I guess if he got his permit now, they may have to get him that extra long hairnet. You know, he might be wearing a hairnet in the next picture. But dude is out there. He making his bread. He look like he's doing positive things, so I'm glad for him.
Yeah, so if you in the North Minneapolis area, my man Jaquan got the hot dogs, he got the Polish sausage, drinks, and chips. He got everything you need. So
I'm gonna need him to get some hot links, though. You gotta get some hot links.
Get some hot links. Yeah. All right. I mean, this brother is inside of his enclosed porch, so I think that's funny. But apparently he gonna get his stand though, and he gonna make his rounds around the area. So that's cool.
Yep.
Shout out to Jaquan.
And what is it? Let's see if I find the name. Mr. Faulkner's Old Fashioned Hot Dogs. That's the name of the stand.
And call him Mr. Faulkner when you see him.
Facts.
Even though he's 13.
Facts.
All right. And this next one. This is the one of my favorite white collar crimes ever.
The history of white collar crimes. This is the most white collar crime that you can get.
Yep. Ishmael named it Felonious Screen. I'm going to name it Screening While Black. I'm going to go with that. Screening While Black. Because I always got to do ing, adjective, ing, while black. Just keep it uniform. So, Ishmael, I'm going to let you tell this story.
Okay, so for this story, and you heard me in my Week in Blackness talking about basketball. I talk about basketball fairly often. It's the main sport that I play and stay active in, other than a little bit of golf here and there. But anyway, so we've all had the person at the gym. If you go to a gym regularly, there's always a person that just calls too many fouls, that just, you know, feels like they're an NBA referee. If somebody turns the ball over a little bit, even if they're bringing the ball up by themselves, oh, that's a carry. Or you got a kid that isn't that coordinated and maybe they shuffle their feet. Oh, that's a travel. Or even my favorite is when you're in pickup basketball and people are like, oh, that's over the back. You know, I'm like, call over the back.
Can't call over the back, dog.
What are you talking about? I mean, unless you elbow him in the head or something like that. Come on. So there's always a guy at the gym, but at this gym, and let me see where this was. This is Loudoun County in Sterling, Virginia. A gentleman called the police because he said he got fouled too hard. And we'll have this in the show notes, of course. The interesting thing about it was the officer came and they actually have the body cam of the police officer of the whole incident. So you got to watch the body cam footage. But
no? Okay.
The guy was just angry. He said that this black dude who had on 2 armbands, had on a headband, or had on the sleeves and had on a headband, he said he screened him too hard in the back and that it basically constituted assault. When the police officer came on the scene, he asked him, hey, what's going on? The 2 men gave their side of the story, and he's like, well, what do you want me to do with this? So at the end of the day, the guys ended up going back and playing basketball, but this was all over social media because this guy, well, it actually wasn't the guy who called the police, but he went and tattled to the LA Fitness, the person at the desk attendant, and he had her call the police on his behalf. So,
yo, come on.
Ryan, you have played basketball in the past. Have you ever seen anything like this? Or is there anybody that you wanted to call the police on?
Man, no. No. And I would literally sometimes be mugged. I was a post player, so it wasn't always easy. But you deal with it. You get fouled 9 times out of 10. I probably didn't call it. Don't worry about it. But yeah, man, I don't know how hard of a foul. Remember Stan? We used to hoop with Lil Stan. Lil Stan used to put some good fouls on me. For a little dude. Dude was good at fouling. But so I know one time, probably before you was hooping with us, pushed me down. I think I broke my tailbone because it was pretty bad. Yes. But all I did was I maintained possession like a G should. I got back up. I signaled like first down, like it was still our possession, and we kept on playing. And I made sure we won the game, and then I limped my tail back to my car, and I was out for about 3 weeks. But I wasn't finna call the police on nobody, man. Come on, that's soft.
Right. It's like with Kobe, he ruptured his Achilles and went back and hit the free throws. You just got to man up, get it done. I got head-butted in the jaw today. I thought first, I'm like, I'm about to have a concussion. But, you just shrugged it off. Dude said, my bad. Hey, we good. So, yeah, that's crazy. That dude should have been banned from the gym forever. Not the guy who set the screen, the guy who called the police, because that's the weakest move I ever seen.
Oh, like, definitely.
You need to play another sport. You need to go play volleyball or what's the game like tennis, badminton with
some handball.
You need to go play
some
badminton,
handball,
bro.
Yeah, his pictures should be hung up in gyms across the area and say, if you see him, do not pick him up, and we'll just get some social justice. You can't play in no pickup game nowhere in the region.
No
make
entry.
A move.
Exactly.
Right. Get out of here with that. But yeah, that's my favorite all time, man, because if it's something that's not worth calling the police for, it's over some basketball, man. Get out of here.
Right.
All right. So, all right, let's move into our more serious news. This first one I titled, and this is, of course I'm joking when I say it, but Goating While Brown. Goating While Brown. A Middle Eastern restaurant owner was accosted while in his vehicle by a racist white man. He went on a rant. We're going to actually play the video on this one because there's no other way to describe it because it makes absolutely no sense. So we're going to tell you now, if you're listening somewhere where other people can hear it, this dude's dropping N-bombs like crazy. He's cussing like crazy, but we got to do it. We got to do it. I'm gonna bleep out the real cuss words.
Parental advisory right here. Give all the warning. So you don't want to hear some cussing. Go ahead and skip forward about 2 minutes.
Right. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. You've been warned. Here we go.
What's your problem? Afghanistan. What the problem? Are you such a bitch, Afghanistan? What's your problem? You're a bitch, Afghanistan. Oh yeah. You're a bitch, Afghanistan. Yeah. What's up? Oh yeah.
You see the face he just made.
You good? It's a good thing you got that to protect you. Yeah. Snatch your an association. Nice. Out of you. Nice. You racist. Eagles. Yeah. Eagles. Yeah.
Eagles.
Go back in your Honda, you little prick. Go back. Go, prick. Yeah, I was born here, you fucking go. Yeah, bitch. Fucking go. Incest-loving motherfucker.
Maybe we shouldn't have played this on the show. We probably shouldn't have played this on the show.
Hey,
I almost spent about 10 minutes editing that out. I didn't realize they was cussing so much. But it's hilarious.
And to set up that scene, what happened is, this guy was just driving around. Mr. Arsalan Gousi was just driving around, says he has a truck where he has an Afghan flag next to his American flag because he's born in America, but he's of Afghan descent. He's just driving around and he noticed that this other guy was following him for several miles. So he said he figured, I'm going to just pull over and see what he wants. So he pulled over to the side of the road, and then the person that you heard on the video walked up to his truck and began spewing out that racist filth that you heard. Of course, we'll have a link in the show notes, so check that out. But Ryan, what did you think about that?
Man, if that ain't the most ridiculous reason to get out of your car, like, I don't have time. I don't have time to get out the car to say nothing to nobody. Now, you're not going to get out the car and say something to that dude with that Confederate flag.
Right.
I bet you won't. You won't get out the car for today. I was at the flea market. I actually saw a sticker that said fighting terrorism since 1861, and it had a Confederate flag on the bumper sticker. Yeah. So 1861 is when the Civil War started.
Right.
So what terrorism was that?
Yep. And this dude, of course, has on the standard issue racist wraparound sunglasses. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
In all these videos, a person has sunglasses like this. And I think even the next story that we'll talk about, it's the same thing. The same sunglasses, probably the same pair of sunglasses.
So are the sunglasses racist or the people that wear them?
It's the people that wear them. I think that's just like the symbol. What's the movie Hunger Games? You know how they got the little pin?
Yeah, the little bird.
Wears. Yeah, this is the same thing. So the sunglasses, that's just like the code. So when you see somebody with those wraparound sunglasses, they down for the cause. So they like, look, we're not about to wear a swastika. We're not about to, have a Confederate flag that's becoming out of fashion. The blacks and the brown people are protesting the Confederate flag. So just get the wraparound glasses. They've been wearing them since 1831 too, or whatever year. So
yep, I'm sure when he takes them off, he puts them on the back of his head. Right? Is that how they do it? That's what I see a lot around St. Louis. He also had the classic racist sandals on, if you notice that. So, yep.
Yeah. So sad days.
Yep, we know how
sadly,
it is.
That's not the only issue of a angry white person spewing racist stuff to another minority. So, Ryan, tell us about this other story.
Yep, so this time we take it to New York. New York. New York. Man unleashes racist rant at man driving with his son. So, again, we don't have as much context on this one. But I still thought it was funny. So let's just play the audio on this one, too.
Yep.
We're about to do this like Jesus and
the fact that it's funny is sad. But
yeah,
like everybody that I played this for, every black person, like the initial reaction was just laughter because it's so outrageous that all you could just do is laugh.
Yep. Here we go. Don't do me like that. Edit out the silence. Here we go.
Take your picture. I'm calling you a nigga too. Yeah. Smile, nigga. You're harassing me. Put it on the tape, okay? Okay, nigga boy.
Put it on the tape.
Yeah, keep taking my picture. Keep harassing me, okay? All right, go ahead. Wow. Put it on tape that you can't drive. You cut people off. Make sure you show that to the cop, you stupid nigga.
Now, if I didn't know, and I didn't really pay attention to where these things had happened, this looks like the exact same guy. He's got the same sunglasses. He's got the same T-shirt on almost. Everything is exactly the same. So, I don't know. Maybe this dude has an evil racist twin that lives in Long Island. I'm not sure. You know, who knows what possibly could have set this guy off. Apparently, this is just a driving while black situation.
Right.
So, all you black people out there, you better drive correctly or you're going to be called a nigger.
Right. That's what alt-right Papi would say. He'd say, well, I mean, he said he cut him off on the road.
Right.
So if you just don't cut people off, then,
Things will be
maybe
okay.
they wouldn't call you nigger. And if you don't have a flag on your truck, we got to have his spirit here. So.
Yeah, we definitely gotta dig deep to pull up some right wing, some alt-right Papi.
Right. But
no. Go ahead.
The positive thing on these types of stories, and I don't know if this particular guy has been identified. I know the guy in the last video that we talked about was identified thanks to who? To Sean King. Sean King be on it. He put the video out to his followers on Twitter, and within probably 10 minutes, people figured out who he was. Well, first they figured out where's the intersection, then they figured out who he was. His shirt said where he worked for, and they hit up the company. They said he doesn't work for us anymore. So this guy, I don't know if he's been identified yet, but if he hasn't, he will be, just because that's what happens nowadays. So you're going to get that civic justice or that social justice like Ryan talked about before, where you would just be scoring forever. But it was sadly pretty hilarious because he was just so adamant about just calling this dude every type of nigga this way and the other.
Right. Now, I do wonder, because everybody has the internet now. Everybody has Facebook. Everybody at least watches the news on an old school antenna if you don't do nothing else. So you know good and well these racist white folks out here are getting fired over being racist. Like, we're not playing that no more in 2018. We might be able to be shot by the cops, but hey, don't call us a nigga and get it on video because we're going to get you out of here. So,
But
why do they still do it?
I don't know with this dude, because if you go back and listen, he's like, go ahead, keep taking my picture. So I don't know if he really follows technology like that, because I feel like he think the guy's taking still images of him or something, or he's, oh, look at your little fancy smartphone, which everybody has smartphones now. So
Right.
I don't know if he seems like a guy.
So he still got a Nextel.
He just listens to ham radio. That's how he gets his news. So.
But the other dude said, you glad that you got the phone protecting you.
Right.
So he was also aware of it.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop anything.
Yeah. No, they bold. They don't care. And I'm sure, think about it. Even when we're on social media and everything, like the way social media is set up is like an echo chamber, because on Facebook, you follow your friends, you follow people that you've known for a long time. They're going to tend to have similar ideals as you. And then what happens, like with the election, with Clinton and Trump, people were, I'm deleting people off because,
That's true.
this person is supporting Trump or this person's supporting Clinton. So, I'm not about to have that. So people delete people who aren't like-minded. So it's like you're just enclosed in a group of people that think the same way as you or agree with you. So I purposefully have not deleted anybody off Facebook because of political reasons. Like, if you support Trump or whatever, that's gonna may tell me a little something about you, but I'm not gonna delete you because I feel like your views are still important, or you can still be a good person and disagree with me politically. But just the way that the things have become, we enclose ourselves. So this dude, probably his Facebook feed is full of people dropping that N-word. So he just feel like, hey, it's the thing to do.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I want to hear even the craziest of angles in life, on any kind of social, anything we're talking about, any kind of issue. I want to know what the extreme people are saying. Because I'm just curious, because sometimes there's something that you could derive from that. Whether you either firm up your stance on what you believe, or maybe you soften your stance on what you believe and say, well, at least I know where that person is coming from. Right. And that's kind of how I live my life in general. I'm not totally against a whole bunch of stuff, but I still want to know where you're coming from, because one, I can't help you. None of us can help each other or get through something if we're not listening to the other party. And I feel like that's where we've gotten now. The 53% might not be listening to the rest of us, and they just going about their business and doing what they want to do. But hey, the rest of us actually have a beef, or we have something that we have to say. And, if everybody listens to one another, maybe we can move forward. But until then, we're going to keep repeating the same cycles over and over again.
Yeah, you gotta be able to have them tough conversations, and it's not always going to be convenient. It's not always going to be happy, jolly. But you got to be able to have them. You got to be able to listen. And like you said, it seems like this current political environment, people just don't care. They just turn their ears off when it comes to the opposition way of thought. And so that's why we're just not getting anything done. Yeah.
So I couldn't, I never just read one news story. For example, we were talking about that situation here in St. Louis, where the kids at Wash U, we should have put that story in there this week, but I guess we're talking about it now, so same difference. So the kids here at Wash U, some college students were accused of dining and not paying, and they left the restaurant. There was about 10 of them. The police were called, and because somebody, did in fact not pay for their bill, but these particular kids were pulled over by the cops. They asked them what happened. And they were told, they said that it wasn't them. They showed their receipts. You would think at this point everything would be cool. Now, that's where the news stopped. And they just said, these kids are filing a grievance, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, what's wrong with them? This story is crazy. And that was day one. I didn't say anything about it. Kept it quiet. Day two, same news story again. No new information. Peeked my head out the bathroom, listened to the story. I'm like, hey, it's still going on. Wrote on a group me, and I was like, man, I think they're taking it too far. Why are they pushing it so far? And a friend, G, gotta edit that out. G said, no, what they did was they made the kids, despite having their receipts and proof of purchase and payment, they escorted them back to the IHOP with 6 police cars. 6 police cars, 3 blocks to find out if it was them, even though they had the receipts. Now I understand why they're filing the grievance. Right. So had I just stopped at my Fox 2 News story and just left it alone where the sheriff was saying, I think we did everything okay, then, I would have been like, oh, those black people, they out there wilding, they tripping. But no.
Why are you watching Fox News, though, or Fox 2?
My wife watches that. She watches Fox 2 every morning.
That's the real question.
She watches Fox 2. She watches Fox 2. I don't even want to watch the news.
News agency, man.
Hey, I'm anti-news on TV, period, but that's what she chooses to watch. I like the weatherman, so that's all I can say.
Why are you anti-news on TV, though?
I don't like watching local news, man. They show every fire in St. Louis. They show every break-in, and that it's like nothing else is going on in this city. There are positive things happening on Earth, and I want to hear about them. I don't need to hear about every fire, because that fire really only affects that one person. There should never be news about a fire on TV.
It depends on what's on fire. But so what do you do for local news? How do you stay in tune to the local news? Because news is something that is very important.
Because if any local news happens, y'all talk about it, so I know about it. Or my wife would be like, oh, did you hear about this? Nope. And that's how I get it. Because other than that, I only look at the world news.
You just like Facebook and group chat. That's your news source. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I get everything I need. Minus the heartache. Because if I don't want to hear it, I just keep on scrolling and I don't worry about it. No fires for me.
Well, I'm going to I'll take that I'll note that and make sure that I start to tell you some other stuff. Because you got things going on what is it? There's an area where they got
Yeah, I saw that on the news. It's fine. Is it in fluorescent? Nope, don't care. That's how I feel about it, man. It is what it is. Sorry. All right, so let's move on to our next story. I'm gonna let you intro this one. It's a little bit more serious. So, as usual, y'all, Florida. That's all you can say, Florida.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily even want to have a long discussion about this because it is sad and it is something that continues to happen. But like you said, it is in Florida. And I dislike Florida so much that I'm on my own little personal boycott of Florida. And it's like I really don't have any desire to go vacation in Florida, to go visit Florida. I'm not going to retire in Florida. And it's because of stuff like this. Now, Florida isn't the only racist state. You know, we live in Missouri. You and I do. And there's a lot of racist stuff that happens in Missouri. But it seems like whenever there's huge stuff, it's always like this. It's
always Florida.
So this particular incident was a 28-year-old brother, father of three,
Marquise McLaughlin.
Yep. And he was at I guess it was a gas station or a little convenience store with his family. They were in the car. He ran into the store. I guess his wife parked in a handicapped spot, which, again, he was probably running in to get something quick. So she just parked at the first open spot. And a Caucasian gentleman, Michael Draca, started to accost his wife because she was parked in this handicap spot. So she's in the car with her kids, and he's coming up like he's the police or something and yelling at her for being in this handicap parking spot. Now, from the video that I see, looks like this parking lot is fairly empty. I only see one other car besides hers. But he's going off and getting in her face, yelling at her. So when her husband, Mr. McLaughlin, comes out the store, he sees this white man going off on his wife, all up in her face. So he runs up behind him and pushes him down. And what does Michael Draca do? He pulls out a gun and shoots him. And Mr. McLaughlin, kind of staggered, or he kind of ran away and then ended up just collapsing and died right in front of his child. Let's see, his son was with him.
5 years old.
5-year-old son was in the store with him. He collapsed right in front of his 5-year-old and died. And the big news of this is because of Florida's stand your ground laws, which again, Missouri also has stand your ground. Michael Draca will not be prosecuted. They say he was within his rights for the shooting. So I'll open this up for you first. I have some other thoughts on it, but what did you think about this, Ryan?
Man, so it's so crazy how Florida has become. Me and my wife have been thinking of actually moving there a little while ago. This was before, anything really started popping off. So, there had been years just like, hey, one day, maybe we'll move to Florida. The water was warm, in a Tampa area, and we like the beach. So it was just like, maybe we can move down here. We'll think about it. But man, heck no, I'm not moving to Florida. Why is it that these stand your ground laws seem to work against black people in all instances?
All instances.
It seems like no matter what happens, you could just say, oh, I was just standing my ground. Like, why is that? Why don't they just call it stand your brown? Because that's what it is. Stand your brown laws. Like, well, was a brown person involved? Okay, we're not prosecuting. Man, it's ridiculous that there's no... I don't really even know how the investigation works. Do they even bring it up in front of a judge? Do they even have lawyers involved in this? Or is it just the prosecuting attorney just saying, stand your ground, don't worry about it?
Yeah, I think it's just the prosecutor. They ultimately decide whether to file charges or not. So I think the prosecutor looked at the tape, they looked at the incident, they saw, okay, again, Marquise McLaughlin, he did push him from behind, and so they said, well, that constitutes an attack. He pushed him, so he's within his right. He does not have to retreat. He can pull out a gun. He can shoot him, even though, and this is the big deal, this is why people are so upset, because he initiated the altercation in the first place. He went up to his wife and yelling at her, cussing at her, calling her racist names. And the store owner actually said that this guy, Michael Drachka, had been coming up to the store for several weeks harassing black people. And he said he had contacted the police about him before because he basically comes to the store, calls black people all type of racist names, and clearly what he's been doing is trying to bait them into a situation like this. So he's been there for at least a couple of weeks harassing black people, and now he shoots one and he's in the clear because stand your ground.
Okay, so I just watched the video while you were talking. So I hadn't watched the video before, I had read it, but man, the dude pulled the gun out. He had a few seconds where he's just standing there. He's just sitting there with the gun pulled. Mr. McLaughlin turns like, oh my God, this dude got a gun, turns sideways, and he still shoots.
Yeah, he's clearly
he was backing away. Yeah.
Right.
He's clearly backing away. I don't see how in this situation you could say that, oh, stand your ground even applies. Because so if you get pushed on the ground and you sit down there like a baby, you can shoot somebody.
Sit down like a baby.
I mean, you basically sit down like a baby. You know, it's fine. You was scared because the dude was black, or you just wanted to pull your gun on somebody. I even understand him just pulling the gun out. Like, I don't want to catch this L, so I'm going to pull this gun out to stop all of this from happening right now. But once this dude backed up, how exactly does stand your ground even apply anymore?
Because, I mean, it's the same thing with Trayvon Martin, is because even though, remember,
they was literally fighting, though.
Zimmerman was following him, and Zimmerman started that whole altercation. But the thing is that they say if someone has attacked you or if you're in a fight with somebody, you don't have to retreat. So just the fact that McLaughlin pushed him down, like that constitutes, I guess, a fight or an altercation within the Florida law. So the other guy does not have to retreat. He can legally shoot him, and that's what he did. And like I say, I feel like he knew that. I feel like he was up there basically wanting to shoot people, because they interviewed another black guy on one of the news stations there, and he said that this dude had been, again, calling him the N-word, telling him that he had a gun, that he was going to shoot him, this and that. And so this is something that had happened recently, but the prosecutor doesn't care about that. I'm sure the prosecutor could talk to this individual. I'm sure the prosecutor talked to the store owner who said that they didn't want him up there, that they called the police on him. But it's Florida, so Florida does what Florida does.
So what if his girlfriend pulled out a gun and shot him? Would she be standing her ground?
Or
no? How about
yes, but legally in Florida, so? No. You know, they'd have prosecuted her to the fullest extent of the law.
Let's say roles are reversed. Black man gets pushed on the ground and pulls his gun out, shoots a white man who is stepping back while he's stepping back. Will we get a stand your ground situation?
Probably not, as Jay would say. And I mean, even when you look at the two stories that we talked about before with the two racist guys pulling up to somebody, like what happens if one of those guys, either the Afghani guy or the black guy, what if they pulled out a gun? They said, hey, this dude is yelling hate crime. He's yelling racial things at me. I shot him. You know, I feared for my life. This guy was coming at me, so I shot him. Do you think that they would get that same treatment? No, they'd be thrown in jail. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's ridiculous, the double standards. But we know that the system is just kind of against black and brown folks. So, It is what it is. But especially
that's a
Florida.
heart-wrenching story right there. Just because, you never want to see that happen to somebody, especially somebody in front of their kid too. Man. But, that's all I can say without getting myself in trouble.
To the McLaughlin family too, man.
Yeah. So hopefully somebody can review this case. Maybe they can get something brought back up on this dude. But
and this is why elections matter too, because when you think about it, like when Barack Obama was in office, so Florida would have done the same thing. They would have said, there's no charges, but the Obama administration will come in with the feds and say, all right, you violated his civil rights. We're going to file federal charges on you. But, as soon as 45 got in there, he started to roll back all of that type of stuff with the Justice Department. So all those consent decrees that they filed under the Obama administration, all that stuff has been taken off the books. All these federal charges against people doing hate crimes and stuff like that. I'm not going to say they don't do it ever, because they still have filed some federal hate crimes, but not to the extent that was happening with the Obama administration. So you got to vote. You say elections don't matter, but situations like this, it would make a difference if we had somebody else in the White House.
Yeah.
And in the Justice Department.
All right. Okay, so in honor of Paul, we always want to try to end on a higher note, a funny story. And
so sad right
ladies
now,
and
so we got to get something better.
My spirit was down, but I'm going to try to bring my spirit up. And you know what brings my spirit up? Chicken. And I figured since we got a black show, a black podcast where we talk about black stuff, we must talk about that holy bird, the glorious one, chicken. And what better chicken than Chick-fil-A? So recently a Texas woman gave birth in a Chick-fil-A bathroom. Chick-fil-A bathroom, y'all. What better place to be born than in the house of the Lord at Chick-fil-A? Baby girl was born in Texas, and not only was she blessed to be born inside a Chick-fil-A where she could smell those spicy chicken sandwiches, but she was born where she will be able to get free food for life and a future job. If that ain't God, I don't know what is. What do you say, Ishmael?
Well, for the readers, this was not a black baby that was born in Chick-fil-A.
It doesn't matter, sir.
Baby. But Ryan is so in love with the Chick-fil-A chicken. And I do have to admit that Chick-fil-A is quite delicious, especially,
yes, sir,
the crispier chicken. Like the grilled chicken is kind of suspect, but I appreciate Chick-fil-A because they have waffle fries still, man, and nobody else really has waffle fries. Arby's
you like them? You like the waffle fries?
I love waffle fries.
I think that's their weakest link, man. I like them, but I think it's the weakest link. But that's okay. Chicken is fire.
Gotta have more waffle fries. So,
okay.
Yeah, the baby born in Chick-fil-A. The awesome part is it says her birth certificate reads born in Chick-fil-A.
That's right.
And actually the husband signed the birth certificate as the attending physician since there was no doctor there. And I guess he was the one that, had to make sure that the baby was out of there. So, very, very cool story. If the baby is going to be working at Chick-fil-A, I will say, the baby is going to have some tremendous manners.
Tremendous.
Chick-fil-A people's manners are the dopest. Like, by far. They'd be like, oh, I'm pleased to serve you today. And so I always appreciate the Chick-fil-A folks.
Man, they so polite at Chick-fil-A that I drive out of my way on my lunch break sometimes just to go to a Chick-fil-A. You sit in that line, but you know what won't happen? You won't get angry. You'll feel good when you leave. Whether you're black, white, Hispanic, it doesn't matter. They're going to say, it was my pleasure to serve you, sir. And it's amazing. Nowadays, I'm surprised if the person in the drive-thru even talks to me. But when I go to Chick-fil-A, I feel like a king. I feel like I got my reparations. That's how serious it is. Love that Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, shout out to Chick-fil-A. I know some people do not like it. Some people don't like their stances on some social issues. But when it comes to, like you said, just how the people respond to you, the customer service that they give you, the quality of the food, in terms of fast food, yeah, Chick-fil-A, they get 2 thumbs up from me. And so,
I guarantee,
baby born in Chick-fil-A, that's what's up.
I guarantee this baby got better treatment at the Chick-fil-A in the bathroom than it would have had at the hospital delivery room. I guarantee it, man. It was probably cleaner. The wait staff did a better job. They probably had water. They had to have fresh lemonade for them. They might have had a frosted lemonade for the mom.
Right, they propped the head up. They got some towels, some pillows out the back. They propped the head up.
They ain't had to ask for no towels because they was cold in the room. You know how they do us at the hospital.
Right.
We're like, man, it's freezing in here. Can we get some more towels? You ain't have to ask. It was already toasty warm.
Now,
they probably swaddled that baby in a nice, warm, homemade bun.
Here's a question, Ryan. So if you have another child, are you going to go and take your wife to Chick-fil-A whenever you think she's due? Because, number one, it'll be less of a line, or the line is going to be the same. Let's keep it real. The line in Chick-fil-A is as long as the line in the emergency room. But the thing is Chick-fil-A goes through that in like 2 minutes, where the hospital, you're in there for like 2 days. So I feel like you could go to Chick-fil-A, you could get your combo, you could get your baby delivered, and you'll be out of there in about 5 minutes.
Well,
and your baby will get Chick-fil-A for life.
Look, man, these are the things that people come to the United States for. There are people right now sitting in detention centers. They are traveling long, hard hours all night, all times of day and night, so they can get here just so they can be free. If you already live here, the best thing you could do for your child is to be born in a Chick-fil-A.
Oh, I thought you were saying that's why people are coming across the border, because they want to have their baby in the Chick-fil-A and get some of that Chick-fil-A sauce. Thought that was the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit
also
of
worth
Chick-fil-A.
It. But for us that are already here, the closest thing a black person can get to freedom is to being in a Chick-fil-A. That's what I'm saying. Freedom. It's the real taste of it, man. This is where color doesn't matter. It's inside of a Chick-fil-A. Has anybody been called a nigga in a Chick-fil-A? No.
I don't know.
And if they did, probably anything happened in Florida. But you know what? I'm gonna even say in a Chick-fil-A, the chicken is so fire, you ain't even gonna get shot in there. Nobody standing their ground. Nobody got time to call you nigga because they chewing that spicy chicken sandwich.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
Well, we know Ryan is going hard for the Chick-fil-A sponsorship.
I am. I'll sponsor them for free.
Next podcast in the Chick-fil-A. Let's go. Let's do it.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of Chick-fil-A. All right. So that was a interesting episode, man. For some kind of way, we ended up going 1 hour and 3 without Paul. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
I knew it was going to happen. We brought in some topics that even weren't on the list. So, we try to go about 1 hour. So we hit that a little bit. This is a normal episode. So you got anything for the BDP certified?
No, I don't. Do you?
Okay, yeah, do got something for them real quick. And this is actually a business. I have not purchased anything from this business, but it's another group followed on Instagram. It's called Tins Clothing. It's TINZ Clothing. They have a lot of African attire, a lot of African gear. So I just always follow their posts, man. They got some fly gear. So I think I am going to have to buy something from them. We got a friend who has African clothing attire company. And I don't know if we shouted her out or not.
We never did.
We did?
Nope.
Okay. Well, we'll shout her out
next week. Put her on the
week.
list one day.
We'll shout her out next week. And I've looked at her stuff. The only problem
I shared her on the Facebook page, but we didn't talk about it on the show.
Yeah, the only issue I had with her is they didn't have that much stuff in my size. So I'm going to need to shoot a note to get some stuff in my size. But until then, go to tinsclothing.com. If you're looking for the Summer 18 collection, we don't know them. We don't owe them. This is not a paid advertisement, but it's just a black business that, as I've looked at, I appreciate what they're trying to do. And so we want to just send them some support. So BDP certified business this week, Tens Clothing.
All right. So let's see. I'm going to kick it back to you again for where can they find us?
Yo, you can find the Black Delegates podcast. We are on Twitter and Instagram at Black Delegates. There's an underscore between Black and Delegates. You can follow Ryan on Twitter at The Black Ryan. You can follow me at Ish Creates. Ryan, if people want to help out the podcast, what should they do?
People want to help out the podcast, they can find us on iTunes and rate us with 5 stars. 5. If you don't like the show, rate it 4 stars. We'll take the 4, and we won't even worry about it. We cool. Just rate it, share it with your friends, share it with your family. Just get us out there so we can. We want to get up the Apple Podcast rankings so that we can really get noticed out here and see where the show can go.
Yep, and hit us up on the social media avenues. If you got questions, if you got likes, dislikes, comments, if you want us to kill Paul, let us know. So just hit us up with the comments, and that's about it, man. So I think we have gone on long enough. So that's all I got to say.
Let's see. Remember, when the world is keeping you down, go to Chick-fil-A through the drive-thru. Guarantee to get your spirits up. And that's it.
Okay. Peace.
It doesn't have to be funny. I'm just making a statement. That's it.